Amy Barber from the Perry Nazarene Church, who is going to lead us in our invocation. Amy?
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Join me in prayer. Dear Father God, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the freedom that we do have in this country that allows us to be able to come before you, to come together as brothers and sisters in a community, or that there can be divisiveness, yes, we know, but there is also unity as well. So God, I just ask that you would be in this place here today, that you would bless those who have volunteered to serve, who have volunteered to share, that they would be able to come to the conclusions that need to be reached, Lord, that they would be able to have the discernment to table decisions for another time if that is required. Lord, I ask that you would anoint them, that you would bless them, that there would be peace in this place, and peace in our country, and peace in our world. Thank you, God, for all that you do, for this amazing country we do live in, that we have been blessed to be in at such a time as this. God, I ask that you would be in our midst, that your presence would be palpable, and that your peace would reign. And it's in your holy Son, Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Amy. Well, I believe it is now 7 o'clock, so I'll call our meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shirley, would you take roll call, please?
Mayor Hammond.
Here.
Larry Lambert.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
Bob Porter.
Here.
Chad Fuller.
Here.
Jacob Puffer.
Here.
Misty Lytle. Here.
Looking now for approval of our agenda for tonight.
I move that the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Chad. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Looking at the council minutes from the meeting of May 16th, looking for approval of those minutes.
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the May 16, 2024 regular meeting.
Second. Oops, go ahead, Larry.
We have a motion from Bob, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. I don't believe we have any pre-approved reports or presentations that is not on our agenda, so we'll move into public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move into communications. Shirley, do you have any?
Communications or the Perry Fire Rescue is having their summer safety jamboree, right, on Saturday,
Yep.
June 8th, from 11 to 3, and that's going to be,
Behind the fire station.
and
Yes. And we're gonna shut down First Street, but it's gonna be it's gonna be behind the station and on First Street.
and then I just don't have to, but I'm just reminding you about the Here's Pride Award, and then who's July? Bob Porter is July.
July.
Mhm.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Shirley. Looking now at the department head reports. Megan, would you like to go first? Treasurer Megan Galbraith.
Good evening.
And even-
June is the final month of our fiscal year, so we're wrapping up the current budget, and I'm going to start prepping for year end. I expect the auditors in the building mid-August as usual. We only have to do a partial OPEB valuation, like a roll forward, since we did a full last year, so that's less reporting and also less expense. So that's good news for this year. Interest to date on all of our funds as of the end of May is $54,500. I'm opening new money market accounts this month with Consumers Credit Union. They're the new institution that was added to our approved banking a couple months back. They have some really good money market options that'll allow us to have full access to our funds and still gain some really high interest rates. Our CDs are rolling, they're renewing every 3 to 9 months, so we always have cash available. Finally, I would just note to residents to watch for your tax bills. Summer tax bills will come out at the end of the month, issued for July 1st, due September 30th. That is all I have for you this evening.
Council, does anybody have any questions for Megan? Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
Kevin?
Hello.
Hello.
So warm weather came early this year, and we've been busy keeping up on grass and weeds. We've already done weed spraying around all the facilities in the lagoon, which typically we don't do till the middle of June or late June. So we're like a whole month ahead on grass and weeds. Y'all are aware of the pipeline project that's going through out by Langsberg. Apparently we're the closest community water supply, so we've been selling bulk water sales to both suppliers for that project. It's a way to increase some water revenue, and it helps them out as well. So that's been going pretty well. We completed our third and final spring runoff out at the lagoon. Everything went as planned. On the generator front for City Hall, consumers completed the gas line upgrade, which is step 1 of the plan. The transfer switch has been delivered to Motor City, and we're going to start work on that real soon. They want to get everything installed and ready to go. Step 2 will probably be the concrete pad out here, so there'll be a little bit more groundwork out here before it's all said and done, but everything's on track to be completed on time for that project. Cleanup weeks. We had a pretty good turnout for cleanup weeks. I think we went through 7 dumpsters this year, and we added the scrap metal recycling dumpster this year, and we filled that up twice. They picked that up today, so that was a way for us to recycle some of the junk that comes through. It seemed like week 2 was kind of tapering off a little bit. We could probably get away with 1 week in the future, but it's something we can discuss down the road. There's no movement on the mountain of brush from the tornado at the DPW garage. They brought the trailer in, said they're coming soon, and that's the best I can do for now. We got a tentative start date for the card lock grant project for this building. They want to start in 2 weeks with basic installation stuff. They're still waiting on parts and equipment, but as long as they start in June, we won't have to carry anything over or do anything with the budget as far as that goes. We'll just bill it all under the current budget. So, is there any questions for me? Thank you all.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin. Shirley?
The only thing I'm going to report on is the pavilion. They laid the brick for the bathrooms in the closet. We have the sewer pipe in, and everything's compacted. They're going to probably pour the bathrooms, I hope, in the next week, the flat work for that, and then they're digging holes for the post and on our way.
Yay. Any questions for Shirley about that? Okay. Thank you, Shirley. Kyle Box. Kyle's been at a something or other all day.
Something or other. Yes, I have been at a something or other. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Misty.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nice to see you again.
You also. Wanted to report that we had a Perry Emergency Response Team meeting yesterday, and that meeting The agenda basically boiled down to, we had a tabletop exercise that was an active violence incident at Perry High School. And we were fortunate enough to have all the Perry Schools administration there to partake and to work through, basically it was a talk through of if we were to have an incident of that magnitude at the school. And I felt like the interaction went really well. The fire department was present, Public Works was there, the mayor was there, the ladies from City Hall were there. Genevieve Cottrell was there, who's a huge asset for that response team. And so it was a really good interaction with everyone, I felt like. So we'll continue to get everyone together and maybe continue to do tabletop exercises as well. And the something or other that I attended today was actually in Troy, and Sergeant Monroe and I attended the North American Active Assailants Conference. This is the 7th annual conference that they've held. I attended back at the 2nd annual and was blown away at the people that attended and spoke. They had people from France, and it's amazing who they bring in. Today we were fortunate enough to see my friend, Chief Chris Rosman from MSU, and a captain from East Lansing Fire, I believe he was the captain.
Was it Mark Cooner?
Yes, it was Mark.
And Deputy Chief.
Deputy Chief, yes, thank you. They both did a fantastic job and were very well spoken, and had a very good presentation on the act of violence that took place there last year. And then there was a Texas lieutenant there on a outlet mall shooting that took place earlier this year, I believe. And they had 3 gentlemen from the Israeli Defense Force who are part of a special task force that responded to the attacks by Hamas on that day, actually. They were right on the line and responded to their people, and they told their side of things, and that was very enlightening. And then the last group of speakers today was active violence situation in California. It was at a bar that took place, and I missed the first part of that, so I couldn't tell you the date and when that happened. But very good, actionable, reportable information that they provided to everybody on what went well and what could be improved upon in the future. So a lot of good takeaways we had. And that's really all that I have for you folks. Do you have any questions for me?
I'll just say that was a really good tabletop that we had during the PERT meeting. Thank you for doing such a good job with that. I was kind of scared when you said we were going to do that. And I just didn't know what, but when we were all done, I wasn't scared anymore. I felt very educated.
Yeah, I've been around some of that training enough to realize that unless you're really used to talking about that at the very least, to move right into any kind of training beyond talking about it can be a huge setback. So I think the starting place for that is to sit down and have all the disciplines sitting looking at each other and talking about it. And that's really helpful to move forward and actually do some training that might be out of the norm for people.
That's very good. Thank you for
Good.
doing that. Any questions for Kyle, anybody?
Oh.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just report that we've received one inquiry that I received regarding the lot that we have for sale down on South M52 for $7,000. It's not felt to be buildable, and there will have to be some Shiawassee County Health Department activity regarding the well that's on site there, and our requirement will be that the buyer will do that. But that being said, the one inquiry we had, he did have some questions, asked permission to walk the property, and I've not heard back from him. So Megan is making every valid attempt to put this vacant lot on Zillow. We've been trying now for a week. and it hasn't broke through yet, but we're gonna keep working on that, and we are running an ad starting tomorrow in the Owasso Argus Press, just to bring it out to the public a little bit. The cost of that ad for 10 days was $80-some. It was this big. But anyway, hopefully we'll, get some inquiries at least. And that's all I had to report. Do we have any committee reports tonight?
The ordinance committee will have a couple of items here later on the agenda, so I'll let that suffice for now.
Just an update for the parks. Megan did order the play structure. We got an ETA of a delivery date sometime in the middle of July. Also, we do have the summer fun night here on July 17th from the hours of 6 to 8. They'll be here at the City Hall. That's all I got.
Any other committees? Thank you for that. Presentation and approval of the bills is next on our agenda.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and that payment be authorized.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We'll move right into old business, which is a discussion regarding the DPW barn that needs to be built and the /salt barn. We did have some questions. I think it was from Bob last time, and Kevin has some information for us regarding that.
I picked up a letter that was included in all of your packets, basically addressing funding and the plan for the new building, which I failed to get that point across previously when we talked about it. Just basically stating that the way we were going to fund the build of a new garage was to use funds from other departments like the streets, major and local, to fund a portion of the building. If we choose to go with a separate salt storage facility, then those funds have to come out and those would be directed towards the salt storage facility, which would allow us to build a much smaller barn. If that's the route council chooses to go with, then we can look at building the salt barn and then look at either fundraising or taking money out of the general fund to build the cold storage building. However you guys choose to do it is fine with me. I just wanted to present the facts to you all.
Kevin, I have a question.
Sure.
Because I was reading through this, and I guess I see two numbers, and I'm trying to figure out which number we're looking at. Like, the one is 15,000, and the other one is 44,000. So which one are we?
Those were just, I was asked to bring options forward
Okay.
for salt storage buildings. One of them is like a temporary canvas type structure.
Right. Which price does that go with, the 15,000?
That would have been the,
first one.
yeah.
The 15,000 one then, right? The Ecolona line storage building?
Yeah. Trying to find the email that I printed here.
And then
But
there's
that's-
the Steel Master one, is that
Yeah.
44 then?
Yeah, those prices don't include any site prep work, any concrete, no bin blocks to set them up, because they gotta be set up on bin blocks.
Right.
So whatever money goes towards building or developing the salt storage facility would take away from what we can do for a new DPW building.
Right.
So our discussion was to approve the engineering last time, which we did approve, and they've started doing some of the site work. So depending on which route council wants me to go in, I can look at getting prices, options, quotes for either way.
I think we don't have plans Any kind of architectural plans for the building that you
Not yet.
would like to have? Because I think Jacob brought up, I think it shows how they're gonna separate them.
Yeah.
Because I think, and I'm the one that had you do this exercise, and I appreciate that. Because I think get the building, and then maybe down the road, we can pull the salt out of there into more of this kind of a building that's more economical, so you have a bigger building that can be used for other things.
Yeah, the end of the barn where the salt storage was gonna be, I talked to him about options, and I'm not sure how they chose to draw it up or what he's working on, but there's a natural hill there, so my thought was to step the building down a little bit so you've got more headroom for dumping trucks
the
and
truck.
backhoes and stacking.
Right.
So if we did that, it would have a partial retaining wall built into a natural one that, with the ground as the backer. And then it would be a physical disconnect between the salt storage and the cold storage for
Okay.
equipment. And you mentioned ventilation.
Yeah, I guess my question, if you said it's separate,
There's no need for ventilation with dry salt storage.
in a closed room?
Yeah, it doesn't aerosolize, unless you're grinding it or creating some sort of pulp out of it, it just sits there idle. If you pipe fresh air in, it'll actually create moisture and make the salt rock up, and it makes it very hard to use.
Brings the humidity in.
Yeah.
But I know you use, and I may be beating the dead horse, but dry salt isn't really dry when you get to it. It has a moisture content. My only issue or worry, I should say, is for long term. No matter what you do, that salt absorbs moisture from everywhere.
Right.
So then it just gets some things. So I think your our city immediate solution is a good one. I think that maybe we should put something into your future budgets to do something more of this metal one, or a hoop house of some sort, whatever that may be, to remove that and have its own little self-contained. Then you would give even more room for cold storage, and this may be 10 or 20 years down the road, but I don't think that, in my opinion, that it's a long-term solution. It's a very good short-term solution.
In future planning, as far as that goes, I would like to develop the site a little bit better. Right now, we have random piles of stuff all over the place. If we did some sort of organization, bin block storage for aggregates and stuff like that, maybe we could look at expanding our driveway parking area and have room. The other question I have about that is where do we put it? Because then that puts us back to having multiple buildings and multiple maintenance items and kind of back where we were before. And then if we do some sort of temporary structure or less than permanent, like a steel structure, next time a high windstorm comes through, we're gonna be back in the same boat. So that was my theory on condensing everything. It's kind of shielded with the other buildings, and hopefully it will last. We'll do it one time and we won't have to revisit that. So that's
What's the cost of adding it to the building now versus the items that you shared today? I gotta imagine there's still some cost associated with it. As, right now it seems like we're comparing $0 to 44 and 15, but adding it to the structure, there is some cost, right?
the way that we did the pavilion was we had them draw it up and then we went out for bids.
Mm-hmm.
So if we spec those bids that we want with or without that portion of the building, we don't know construction costs at this point. So
Right.
I have no way to report that to you until we get further into the project and actually start seeing some figures coming in. I don't know what we can do about that, but.
I think your point you made earlier, I think, Kevin, if I understood you, was that the idea of making it an integral part of the cold storage barn, if you will, allows for some funding from some of the other accounts that wouldn't be there if we made it a separate building.
Correct, so then we either have to downsize, we won't have that benefit, or we pull money from somewhere else to build a similar sized building.
I guess if I understood Bob correctly, we go with the mainstream plan that you were already looking at, and maybe some point in time in the future, like you said, Bob, 10, 15 years, whatever, possibly look at an alternate solution for storage of salt. But right now, go with the mainstream plan that you originally proposed.
Yeah, and if you want help trying to lay out new bare air, I'd be more than happy to help if you would like it.
Sure.
But I think you're going in the right direction, and again, I think it's a good solution. It works. I've been around it for so long, I know it just wrecks everything. So.
That's the nature of the beast.
Right.
It is, and I'm not trying to discredit that at all. I'm just, trying to get something going. Everybody asks me all the time, what are we doing about the DPW barns? And I'm trying to just get something off the ground with the help of you all, so.
So it sounds like we're pretty much in agreement
Yes.
with having you get the plans together for a building with one end for salt storage now,
Yes.
get the costs put together, but possibly get us an additional cost of one of these, what Bob calls hoop buildings, just so we know what that is. Is that what you want, Jacob?
I don't need that price. I was just kind of asking if we're exploring costs
Okay.
and we're having a cost discussion about a separate building, if we knew the cost of what that addition on the side of the building is. But you're 100% right, we don't have plans, we gotta make a decision, we gotta move forward, so.
Okay. So
I
that,
agree with
that
that.
way too,
Yeah.
it is
So
more covered by insurance, the money that we have, at least for now, what we think, as
So-
best we can.
Unless something changes, that's, we're working towards that goal, and
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Great, so when you have that together, just let us know and we'll do that.
Will do.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
We're going to move away from the discussion on the Bradley sign project right now because we do have the attorney to meet with us in closed session. And so now I'm looking for a motion to move into closed session for discussion regarding the police union negotiations.
I move that the council move into closed session to discuss police union negotiations.
Second.
We have a motion from Chad, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, we'll have a roll call to take that vote.
Jacob Puffer,
Yes.
Larry Lambert,
Yes.
Misty Lidle,
Yes.
Mike Connell,
Yes.
Bob Porter,
Yes.
Chad Fuller.
Yes.
So now at 7:26, let's move into closed session. Council, our attorney and police chief, our treasurer will be moving into the council workroom. Other folks, you're welcome to wait here and we will be out. You're fine right here. We'll move, you can stay. As soon as council gets in here, I'll entertain a motion to go back into our public session, regular session. Everybody's here except Chad. Chad.
Did the long way.
Looking for a motion to go back into regular session.
I move that we return to regular session.
Second.
We have a motion from Bob, seconded by Chad. All those in favor, please vote by roll call.
Jacob Puffer,
Yes.
Larry Lambert,
Yes.
Misty Lidle,
Yes.
Mike Connell,
Yes.
Bob Porter,
Yes.
Chad Fuller.
Yes.
Moving back into regular session at 8:16. We have to back up into our old business and pick up the discussion regarding the sign. Kevin, are you still here?
I have a question that's probably really stupid, but you guys keep referring to a lagoon. What is that referring to?
If you would like a tour of our facilities, you can catch me any day of the week between 7:30 and 3:30, and we can show you firsthand what we do and how we do it.
I would love that.
The lagoon
I'm
is,
not being sarcastic, I would love that.
it's our sewer treatment process.
Okay.
So the
Is it
lagoon
like over
system.
by Rupert Road?
It is
No.
down
It's
Bath Road by the
down
railroad
Bath Road
tracks.
by the railroad
Oh,
tracks.
yes, okay, yep, I know.
The city is,
So those are called the lagoons?
yes,
Okay,
that's how we eliminate the city of Perry's sewage.
awesome, thank you.
So Kevin, talk to us about the Bradley sign project.
After a lot of back and forth with Mr. William Bradley and MDOT, this is the draft of a sign that was agreed upon. We're still waiting for the invoice from the state, so nothing is finalized. If anyone has any questions or comments about what, the biggest change, I suppose, would be, we're gonna make the Perry city limit sign bigger, which allows us to have a bigger promotional sign. So the current sign is 46 inches, and this would take it out to 72 inches, which would be uniform with the city of Perry sign. We're only doing one bound, which we decided would be the north bound on the south side of town.
So down by Bath Road,
Yep,
on the east side of
on the
M52.
Cartwright side there. We were asked to look into it. I think council agreed that we should do something, and this is what we've come up with for this particular situation.
Could you just share the discussion that's been held about what to do with the sign that's there now?
We've talked about, when the county, or when the MDOT takes it down, they're gonna do the work. The new city limit sign is gonna be provided by MDOT. They're gonna pay to have the new post put in and the sign replaced. And then Mr. Bradley has paid for the promotional sign. He's already wrote us a check for that, which is above what the state is charging us, and he said he'll donate the rest of the money to some cause here at the city. So, forgot where I was going with this. What was your question?
The sign that's there that recognizes athletes, what are we
Yes.
gonna do with
So-
that?
When they take that sign down, it'll go back to whoever purchased it. If the school purchased it or if the city purchased it, then we'll receive that sign back. I suggested to the athletics at the school that we could look at placing it on a county road bound, whether that be Lansing Road or Bath Road, Britton Road, one of the ends of the bounds. We could reuse it, put up a post or place it like at the school entrance, which is a local road which we could oversee and just make the decision. So once we get there, we'll determine how they want to use the sign or who wants to use the sign. And so it won't go to waste, it won't get tossed in the garbage. Hopefully we'll have the option to repurpose it somewhere. So that was our plan for that. Is there
Any questions for Kevin about that whole process?
I guess I got a question for the council more than Kevin probably. Are we being consistent with others that either have or may in the future, either individually or as teams, do something noteworthy like this?
I know
I'm just
Williamson
concerned
does.
that we put, we're putting a 6-foot sign up, not diminishing the accomplishments that he made, but are we being,
I don't think we've ever rejected anyone's request. I don't think we've ever opposed anybody who's come asking for that to happen, be it the school or an individual. So I think we're being as consistent as we can.
information that I found out from MDOT is a signage contract only lasts about 2 years. So the signage could change from 2 to 3 years is what they told me. So if a road project comes through, all the signs come down, they get replaced. If no one pays for a new promotional sign, it just won't get put back up. So they can come down as early as 2 years, and when they take them down, they go back to whoever purchased the sign. So this one is being purchased by the city, because we're just shifting the money and it's coming from us. So we will get this sign back and do what we choose to do with it. And that can happen as early as 2 years. Now, when contracts end, they said they don't run right out and take all the old signs down and dispose of them. Some of them are up for 10 years, 15 years, because a road project hasn't come through, a sign project hasn't come through, and there's no reason to take those down. They don't run right out and take them down because they're past their contract time. So,
So the minimum amount of time it's up is contract time, whatever that is, 2 to 3 years.
yes,
But there is no real
set date.
sunset to it, in a
Correct.
sense.
Correct.
Okay.
But if they do come through and take it down in 3 years, then they would have to pay to have the same sign put back
We
up.
would have to reapply and go through this whole process again, and they would have to fund it somehow. So, yes, that would be an option.
And there is another sign on the north end of town on the southbound lane of M52 that does recognize student athletes.
Yeah, there's a bowling runner-up, the 2010 bowling runner-up, and then the wrestling championships from previous. So that sign will remain untouched until, you know, they do a sign project or a road project through there, so. I've already sent in the application for conversations with the mayor. So, I mean, we're tentatively moving forward with this unless there's any stern objections. That's kind of where we're at with this, so.
We don't need to take any action or anything on this, right?
This is just a report on.
It's just a
Yeah,
report.
it's just a report.
Ellie?
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, moving into new business, we're past the closed session. We have a request, it's in your packet, from the Masonic Temple. They're asking to end their trash service based on the fact that they say they don't generate any trash. And the letter signed by the
Just a member.
a
He's just a
member,
member.
okay,
Yeah.
Larry Slocum, who's a member of the Perry Masonic Lodge. This can happen, but it has to be as a motion, a resolution from the council.
Does this do, by opting out, does it change the rate or the units that they're based the rates on that everyone pays for?
No,
Not at all.
no, but the ordinance does say that you have to have a dumpster contract or a,
Something, because
if you're opting out, if you're a business, you know.
I think he's saying that we don't need it because we don't produce trash, so that, does that mean they don't think you have to do anything?
Right, they don't have they don't have a contract with another waste company, like to provide a dumpster,
But our ordinance says that they have to.
right?
So how can we approve of it?
We can't, yeah, that's good.
So, yeah,
So would we have to let them know that they would have to show us some kind of information that they would have another?
yeah. He came to us, he wanted to end his trash service, I told him that he to write a letter, but he would have to, if he didn't want to write a letter, have to have a contract or have a dumpster delivered, you know, the whole thing, just like Amy's or the candle store, or, you know, anybody else in the business district that has a dumpster. And they didn't want to do that either because they don't produce enough trash. They have one meeting a month. Their fundraisers are in Davison, I think he said.
Isn't there a food truck though that usually parks in their parking lot?
That's not theirs.
But would they
So-
use the dumpster?
I haven't seen
I
a
don't
food
know.
truck in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
There was one there, but it's been a while, a long time.
Would it be something that they could
I guess if they
share a cafe?
Well, that would be up to Cafe, I guess.
As I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if we have to respond to this,
Mhm.
Mr. Slocum.
That would be up to, up
I
to
mean-
Larry and the owners of Cafe if they,
So if he came back and the owners of Cafe came back and said, yeah, if they ever have trash,
I
they
don't
can
know.
use. I don't know.
Is it-
That's-
Shirley, what does the charter say, or what does the ordinance say? Or do you know, Larry, does it say you must have a contract, or does it say you must
Access.
demonstrate
something.
how your trash would be, how is it worded?
I don't believe that we've got anything in our zoning or our codified ordinance that specifically
I don't think
defines.
so, yeah.
You know, we've got a practice within the city that says, you know, you can't, just decide you're not gonna have the service.
right. Well. is it
Mayor.
just a-
I have a question.
Yes, Kyle?
Do they have a governing board?
I
I don't
believe so,
know.
yes.
Do we want to respond to an individual, or do we want to respond to the governing board?
I don't
mean,
know
I
if they have one,
assume that
honestly.
he
I
would-
don't know.
He would be in alignment with that, but I think taking action without their actual approval could get sticky. If they wanted to formalize a request, then maybe we look into that, but an individual part of, I don't know that I would want to respond or react or take action.
So maybe our response would be that we need to know who's in charge.
There are other,
I move that we table it, find out if this is an official request from their governing board, and we will, I'll go back and, revisit our ordinance just to see if we have something documented that we need to modify
I
and
do-
or reference in.
I do remember reading when Shirley first brought this to me, and I saw that council could authorize that to happen. I didn't remember reading anything that said they had to show they had a contract with someone else for a dumpster or
more
whatever.
research.
Yeah, so I think, I agree with that. Let's table this till
One question quick though.
we get more
There
information.
are other businesses in town that share a dumpster?
The share dumpster, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't believe so. Do
Not
you
that big.
believe
I didn't know
that
that.
there's,
Even like all of
Everybody-
like the Swan Creek and all that down there,
yes.
there's a dumpster for each business?
No, some of those businesses actually use trash service. So the New Hair Salon uses the trash service, Total Resale uses the trash service, Dance Studio, they all do, actually. Nobody's opted out. So just the candle store, because she has a lot of, Amy's has a dumpster now because she has a lot of extra trash. So,
Can we look into whether it would allow for them to share with somebody?
We can.
they don't even
Yeah,
necessarily want to, they want to just take their bag of trash if they have trash home with them.
They-
That's what they've done for,
Cafe
Cover
just
recess.
redid their parking lot and everything.
Right.
It looked like they used Masonic Lodge's parking lot for parking, for
Mhm.
customers,
Mhm.
for the paving trucks, for
Mhm.
all that. I don't know if Masonic Temple charged them anything, but if they didn't, maybe Masonic Temple would be willing to contract or let them be on their contract for the garbage, being as they don't generate any, and it might solve their problem right there. But is it allowed for them to share with another business?
Well, I think,
That's what I'm saying, if we
yeah,
can
we'll
look
look
into
into
that.
that, yeah.
So we move to table it?
Mhm.
Second.
We have a motion from Misty, seconded by Mike, to table this decision until answers to these questions are sought. Larry's going to look into the ordinance requirements, we'll look into the contract requirements, we'll bring all that information back to the next meeting, and most likely at that time, suggest a request in our response from their governing board and other details. All those in favor of Misty's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Table. Okay. Possible approval parts for the lagoon. Now that Misty knows what that is. Kevin?
I needed to know.
Part of our treatment process is when we transfer water from ponds 1 and 2 to the polishing pond, we have to add chemicals to it so that we meet compliance for state regulations. And during that transfer process, there's a mixing station. The water flows in, we add the chemicals, and there's a big spinner in there that churns it, gives it more contact time, and makes it work more efficiently. It ran out of oil, or it aged out. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but it needs parts, and the parts are over the allotted amount that I'm able to spend, so I brought it to council. It's not an emergency, so I didn't have the mayor sign off on it. I wanted to bring it to you guys. The only thing that puts us over is the grease, the lube for the new parts, which is kind of important, or the shipping, it depends on how you look at it, but, so I'm seeking approval for replacement parts to keep the old mixer working and to keep our process working smoothly.
I move that we approve the, any discussion?
So do we have money enough to do that, I guess, is my only question.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's money in the maintenance budget for that.
That being said, I move that we approve the purchase of parts from Matt and Lee Equipment parts to repair the make sure the wastewater treatment facility in an amount not to exceed $2,014.93.
Second.
We have a motion from Jacob, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shirley or Megan, who's going to talk to us about the copier?
So our copier is, we lease it. The lease is up July 1st. So I have put in a new proposal for a new copier. We would like to ask for a colored copier. We feel it would save us some money on ink cartridges. Our current contract for the Canon that we have now is $145.95 per month. We're allowed 12,000 copies per quarter. We have used so far between March of 2023 and February 29th of 2024, we used 12,413 billable copies. So we've been billed for that many copies above our, I think we had 3,000 copies per month. So what we're looking at is the colored copies. The black and white copies are .0057 cents per everything over 5,000 copies, so they've increased our number per month. Colored copies are not included in the 5,000. It would be .042 cents per copy, and we, hold on just a second, I'm sorry, lost my place. We have spent, I have $378 worth of ink toner or cartridge, whatever it is, in the cabinet right now waiting to be used. So we've spent well over $500 on ink. And just say we did 12,000 copies, 12,413 copies of colored, we would spend $521.35 for colored copies. So I kind of feel like it's what we would save money going with colored, right? Yes. Police use it. You make a lot of colored copies, Kyle? Decent amount? No, you don't? Okay. DPW, we print all their service lines inspections. Assessor uses it. So those are the most colored copies that we use. I'm sorry if it makes no sense.
No, it makes sense.
You're
Over it.
you're fine.
So and the plan is, we get to buy this copier that we have upstairs for $1. We have a copier down here that we did the same thing with. So this copier was here when I first came here. We moved it down here. So we would take this copier down here, move it to DPW, purchase that copier for $1, move it down here, and then every 5 years we could rotate copiers.
Sure.
So every 5 years we have a new copier, which we've been doing anyways.
The big copier, the Canon,
The Canon,
is just black and white,
it's just
correct?
black and white, yeah.
If you want to print in color now, you have to send it to the other, the brother copier that's over in a
Yes.
different area.
Yeah.
So leasing this other copier,
Mhm.
it could be done all on that one machine. What would you do with the brother? Just hang on
Oh,
to
we would
it
just
for a
hang on to
backup?
it,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you really go from 2 machines to 1 machine?
Basically, yes. What's that, Megan?
When it dies, we don't replace it.
Yeah, when it dies, we don't replace
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah, because those are basically throwaway
Yeah.
printers. But I do want to say that the new monthly lease amount per month would be $254. That's going up just because it's going up. 5 years ago, everything's going up.
Does
So,
that include maintenance?
Yes.
54 also includes like maintenance costs?
yeah, it includes maintenance calls. We have not had one maintenance call on the copier we have now. I
have a
will
lot of those at school, so.
probably call them though, just to have them come check it out and make sure before the end. And, that includes our toner for that. They send it to us when we get low, so.
So the 254 includes toner, that was my question.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what's
it includes
okay.
it, yep, yep.
And we're
Other
at
questions?
What now? 100 and,
254.
no, what is your cut, what is our lease cost right now?
145.91,
But that's black and white only.
but it's only black and white,
So we're going up a little bit over $100.
yeah,
Is that in your budget?
yes.
Any other questions for Shirley?
I think we were talking about this during,
When you were doing your budget?
yeah, so we kind of like figured it in, hoping we could get the color printer.
So that's the one that you guys would want, would be the option 1B.
We would like
That
that.
has a star on
And the little pink.
That was my
tab.
second
How long
question.
is the
Which
lease?
one would you guys like? 'Cause
We would like the color printer.
you guys need to be able to work with it the most.
Not to mention that we did send a whole flash drive of pictures that DPW took too. We print everything. We spent, what, $256 or over $200 for sure to print pictures for his service lines. So and I didn't include that in this amount too.
What is the length of this lease program?
5 years.
5 years?
I move that we approve the lease for a new copier with Canon Solutions America in the amount of $254 per month, with the addition of color copy printing charge of .042 cents per copy. We also approve the buyout of the current lease for $1.
Second.
We authorize the city clerk to sign the contract ending July 2029.
Now I'll second.
We have a motion from Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Now Shirley's going to talk to us about the health insurance renewal.
So we've kind of already been through this
Yes,
during
we
the budget
have.
time.
Yep.
We know that it went up, what, 9.6%, I think it is. Megan figured 10% increase in the budget, so we have the money for that. Basically, the only thing that's changing, the coverages are not changing, the only thing that's changing is the name of the plan. It's going to 2024 BCN Gold Option 2. We will not be renewing the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. We have one employee on that, and the increase per month on that was just over 12%. How many?
12 to 13%.
Yeah, so we've decided just to have everybody on one plan, and so that's the ask.
Any questions for Shirley or Megan about the health insurance? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we approve Blue Care Network Healthcare Plan 2024 BCN Gold Option 2 for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, and authorize the clerk to sign the same on behalf of the city. The city will not be renewing the Blue Cross Blue Shield policy.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Okay, now to our honored guests. If you recall, we had discussion regarding possibly putting on the ballot a proposal for the voters to decide if they wanted curbside recycling. And we decided to think about it and come back. Well, during the thinking about it time, we saw an article in the paper that was talking about Shiawassee County Materials Management Plan. So I called Tom Emery, Commissioner Emery, and asked him about that because he's on the committee. And he said that it would probably be best if we got together so they could explain it. So Commissioner Emery's here, and he has brought with him the head of the Shiawassee County Health Department, Larry Johnson. Thank you, guys. Sorry to keep you waiting so long.
Good evening. As you may or may not know,
We're operating under, we used to operate on what was called the Solid Waste Management Act, which is the state regulation for handling solid waste. That statute was amended some time ago, about the end of 2022, and it's now called, and what's in a name? It's now called materials handling legislation. So we have had on the county level, and counties under these statutes are responsible for developing plans involving the local governments. Under the new materials handling statute, our solid waste management plan that's been in effect is being supplanted by this materials handling. And kind of the basis of it is the emphasis is much more on recycling than disposal of waste. We used to be most concerned about disposal of solid waste, while the emphasis is changing to materials handling and recycling. In fact, this statute requires recycling, and it's already passed the legislature, so it's law. We're kind of handed a fait accompli here. It's really not debatable anymore. So it requires additional recycling, and I'll have Director Johnson discuss that. But the county commission did place the responsibility for implementing this legislation on the county health department, and the director is Larry Johnson. And we have, well, I'll let him explain. We have hired a consultant. We have to rewrite the county plan. The county plan is going to impact all of you. So we did, we're pretty fairly up to date on it. At the end of April, we attended a conference, a recycling organization conference, and we were getting a lot. We heard from the Eagle people who are handling this. Just keep in mind, the concept is the state dictates to us. The state has dictated that by, I think, 2040, the state of Michigan recycles about 19% of stuff now. I think they want to more than double that. And that's going to be a big impact on the local people. So Director Larry Johnson is here, and I asked him to brief you up on it because it's his baby now.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Welcome, Larry.
That was a really excellent overview of what's going on in the world of recycling in the state of Michigan. So I'm going to throw some numbers and dates at you. Essentially what has happened now is the legislature has implemented this new law signed by the governor that's going to move the state of Michigan, move the needle from where we are right now, which is, Commissioner Emery said, about 19%, to, they want to get to 30% by 2029, and then eventually to 45%. So essentially almost half of the materials that you would normally think would be trash would go into a different stream. And so instead of going to a landfill, they'll be diverted to what they call a materials recovery facility. There's a number of those currently around the state. I know there's a big one being built in Detroit right now. But what this means for you and for our county residents, we do have to write a new plan, the materials management plan. The County Board of Commissioners are the county, what they call the county approval agency, and they put the responsibility of organizing it and pulling it all together on the health department, which is the designated planning agency. And prior to us being in charge of this, it was under community development at the county years and years ago when they wrote the solid waste plans, which was essentially the building and zoning department, and that is now a privatized entity. And so the county board wanted to keep it under control of a county entity. And so we got it, you know, I've volunteered to take it on, and I'm fine. I think this is interesting stuff. it is an underfunded mandate. The state is providing $60,000 a year to the county to operate this. And as I've been getting into it, I've been telling the state that I can't run a total recycling program on $60,000, obviously. However, we do have landfill money also that comes to the county. And so we've been using that money for hazardous waste collections, tire collections, things, some upgrades to the park spaces. And I wanted to give you a quick update. We had an excellent hazardous waste collection here back in May. We had around 100 cars and we took in 11,500 pounds of hazardous waste. And that was our satellite collection. We do one outside of the Owasso area every year.
That was just from here?
Yeah, that was just from here.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the area. So, you know, there's a need, there's a demand for some of these things. For the recycling component of it, the municipalities that have over 5,000 residents are mandated to offer curbside recycling by 2028. So the only municipality in our county that's affected by that is Owasso City. And Owasso City is aware that they have to move in that direction. Their challenge that they have in Owasso is that they have about 5 or 6 waste haulers, and they do not have single service contract, and that's challenging for them. Other municipalities, including such as yourselves, have moved to single hauler, which is economies of scale. It's typically it's cheaper for the residents, and it is good for the roads. So in the meantime, Durand has had single service for a long time, including curbside. It's picked up twice a month, every other week. Corona went to it last year, so they have the same thing, single service picked up every other week. The eastern townships have it because they are in proximity to the landfill. They have, some of them have curbside recycling along with single service. Some of the other areas like Woodhull or Fairfield or Bennington, it's going to be tough. And for them, we have to set up a drop site per 10,000 people. So what I'm trying to do is get as many people that can get access to curbside will reduce the number of these sites that I need to have. And when you think of a site like that, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Langsburg Recyclers, but that's a thing that's been running for quite a while. But they're running it on volunteers, and I can't run things on volunteers. So when we get into this, there's going to be costs on the county and on the residents to be able to afford to staff these drop sites, and you have to staff them 24 hours per month. So if the residents in a rural area don't have access to curbside, then they have a facility that they can bring it to. But it can't be left unattended because what happens is people just bring trash and it just goes off the rails. So I have to have that implemented for the county, it's down the road, by January 1st, 2032. So I have some time, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. But we do have to write the plan that's pointing us in that direction, and the plan has to be written within 3 years from July 6th. So that's our time frame. Now, we're going to have the plan done sooner than that. Maybe take us a year, maybe a little longer to get that done. But anything that you're looking at when it comes to the recycling, that's where we're moving. So you know, I think it's wonderful that you guys are taking that up. And you know, that's kind of just the general 30,000 foot view of what's going on. I think I covered it all.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is that you're encouraging the city, even though we're under the 5,000 people here, that you're encouraging them to look at this curbside because it will kind of reduce the need for more numerous of these pickup sites for the rural areas.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
So I think you were thinking that maybe how are you going to pick where your facility is at, I guess?
That's a great question. So it's based on every 10,000 citizens that don't have access to curbside. I was looking regionally around the county. So Langsburg's site is already active and up and running. That's almost a walk-in deal that we could work with.
The landfill already has a site, so that covers 2 sites. I have to admit, I drove down here and looked at your site to see how, and there is potential that that could be reactivated. I have a need in the northwest portion of the county that we don't have anything for, and that's a very rural area. There's a lot of farmland and less population. So I have been kind of going around checking areas on what could work, what may not work. The issue, in addition to having to staff it, is if you don't have a market for the recycled good, then you have to get rid of it. And it has to go to a materials recovery facility, and there's cost involved in that. So there's a lot of challenges that haven't been worked out, and when the state puts these mandates on and then just throws us a little crumbs, you know, I often, you know, Tom and I have talked about this, did you think this all the way through? So, and we have to do it, we already know we have to do it, we're going to, but it's, do we want to do just the bare bones, or can this be funded so that we can take it further and make it better? You know, people have their opinions on recycling versus landfilling, and that's fine, but it's just, it is where we are at right now, and we have to move towards meeting these deadlines, these benchmarks.
So if we did decide to put this to a vote of the city, and they passed curbside recycling at $6,
$5.25.
almost,
Yeah.
yeah, $5.25 a month per household for curbside recycling pickup from the same company we use now. If down the road you were ready to implement this program, it would be free to anyone that came in to use it because it's being funded, right? Am I understanding?
Well, that I haven't determined yet,
Oh, okay.
because if you try to charge somebody when they come to drop it off, they're probably not gonna wanna pay. You
Right.
see that through the hazardous waste program.
Yeah,
But I also can't bankrupt the health department to have a recycling program in the county.
right.
So I gotta look at,
We
you
don't
know,
know that yet.
we don't know the
Okay.
answers to that, because 10 years ago, China bought all the plastic bottles, and now they don't buy them anymore, and so that kind of dried up. And so there's a market right now for cardboard. There's a market for certain items, other recyclables,
Yeah.
but many items there isn't a market for. And so there would potentially be a cost to. And nobody at the county or at the townships or the city likes to talk about millages or anything like that, because Eagle tells us that, oh, we'll just do a millage. Like, Chiawassa County, that's not gonna happen. So,
Easy for you to say.
yeah, right, they always say that.
But it would be an option.
Would be an
I guess
option,
is my question.
yes,
That
potentially.
If we have curbside recycling in place, but then we find out the details of the new program, we could eliminate the curbside and go with what the county
Theoretically,
has.
yes.
Theoretically.
But, you know, once the residents get this, they, for the most part, we've seen, tend to like it. So I would encourage you to talk to Duran's people and Corunna's people, the people that you know up there, for how their experience has been. Duran has honestly had it for 20-some years, maybe 30 years.
Curbside recycling.
They
really?
got recycling.
I grew up in Durant, I can tell you for
Yeah.
just personal experience, it was good, and, you know, it's kinda like you see your neighbor put up the trash, you knew it was recycling week, everyone put out the big bin, and, you know.
And it kind of sounds like you don't even have to separate things, you just throw all your stuff into
Yeah.
one and they
Yep.
come and get
And
it.
it's just a little bin like this, and you just throw it in, and
Mhm.
easy peasy.
Council, do you have any questions or comments for Larry or for Commissioner Emery? Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you.
You've
Thank you very
really
much.
Good to see you
given
again,
us
Sue.
food for thought. Good to see you too, Larry.
Thank you. Call me if you ever have any questions on this.
Okay, will do.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Be careful.
Thank you. This is just so that we can go and see if we're putting on the ballot too.
Correct, that's
So,
right.
we're not even gonna be making that decision, the public will be voting.
That's right.
Right.
So,
So we will come up now with a resolution, if that's council's decision, to have a resolution drafted to vote on, to put that on the ballot. Yes?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think in that, we might, depending on what the ballot words might be, without getting too detailed, we may want to consider having just a high-level view of where the state is going with recycling activity in the future.
Not in the resolution, but just in general information.
It's information
Yeah.
that we get out
Yeah.
before the vote.
Yeah,
Just
good idea.
let people educate.
Yeah. It was interesting that he said it's mandated to implement by 2032. So, I mean, that's really not all that far away, so. Okay, I'm going to, if it's okay, let Megan and Kevin go home. Would you like to go home? You're welcome. Thank you for all you did tonight, Kevin.
Have a good night.
You too.
Now we'll move into number 7 on our agenda, which is the first read of ordinance amendment number 394, section 1080.02.
Okay, I kept saying that we were going to have a few ordinance committee items coming forward, and tonight we've got 2 of those. The first one deals with codified ordinance, and this basically came into being in terms of potential amendment here as a result of some discussion that I had with Kevin here a few months back, actually. It was an ordinance that hadn't been touched or looked at in quite some time. So I asked Kevin to look this one over, and he came forward with the proposal basically as it's written. The ordinance committee made just a couple of additions to it. And that's kind of the origin to try to set the stage for bringing it up to be current with what the business practice is today, and highlights also the fact that there's information out on the website, and annually there's a schedule put out in terms of bundling things required for our yard waste. Comments, questions?
What is the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just had a question with the wording, because it says if the residents choose to bag the yard waste, it must be in a paper yard waste bag.
We have to.
And I've
You have
been told
to.
that you have to. So I
During
feel like
certain
the
months.
choose should be taken out, because we used to be able to choose,
No.
and we are
But
not
the
allowed
cho-
to now.
The choice is you can take it yourself to the DPW. That's your
Yeah.
choice.
I didn't even know that we could do that.
Yes, you may.
Yeah, that's, we
Okay.
had that, as a matter of fact, Shirley raised it with me, and we had discussions as we were going through this. It's a good question, Misty, and that is that, me personally, I take it over there because the volume of clippings that I have, I'd have 20, 25, 30 bags every week
Right.
that I have to fill. So that's the reason we say they are,
Okay. So
it
should
won't
it,
be picked up if it's not bagged, but
Right.
you have the option to deliver it yourself over there.
so should it be in that ordinance then that there's that choice? Because I don't feel like it says that we can drop it off ourselves.
Yes, I don't think
That's what I
everybody
think.
knows that.
I think that if a resident reads this, they're gonna say, if I choose to, I don't have to, so
Right.
I'm going to.
They're just gonna dump it in the
Because
front of their yard.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we let them do that 3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I'm thinking, because we press that so hard to tell people that, and then if they,
The only other question I have, because that was a good question, what the pet and animal waste, if I'm putting all that out there, yes, but there's gonna be some in the leaves when I rake my leaves. Guarantee it,
Yeah.
guarantee it. So, does that mean they have the option not to pick up mine, because there's,
Yeah.
right at the top, there may be some, I'm sorry.
If they see it, they don't have to take it.
That's like standard across everywhere. I mean,
It is.
I wouldn't want to pick up a poopy bag. I mean,
Well, and that, it's, but when you rake in the fall, you rake.
I get your point, I think it's
Yeah.
important, it's in there, but it's kind of a moot point.
I don't think that they're looking for it to not take it, but if they got something that's covered in waste,
That's-
they have the right not to take it.
This kind of goes
And
to,
you probably, it's
kind
probably
of goes to
courtesy.
the outdoor furniture thing that we passed. Because that is still comes up in whatever reason, but it's a slippery slope. Who determines is too much, is not, you know, what's too much, or, oh, there's one dropping in there, I'm not taking it. That's all, I'm just,
I don't
I
think they're looking
understand.
not to take it, though. I just think if it's a problem, they're not gonna take it, but there's not gonna be a referee out there saying too much poop. I just think it's, they have the right not to take it if it's covered in something and it's gonna cover them.
No, I understand. Yeah.
It's really looking out for the welfare of the DPW folks in that case. Now, as regards the May, if the council would like, we can take this back to the ordinance committee and we'll draft some different language that clarifies the fact that if they want clippings and yard waste picked up, it's gonna have to be bagged.
I think that's the.
That has to be on.
I think the
Well,
wording
and how-
does have to be
And how
changed.
and
Okay.
where it's supposed to go, because like, okay, you say I can take it to the DPW, but where? Am I supposed to put it in the big brush pile that he was talking about?
That's
Oh,
what
no.
they call City Hall, and we tell them where to go.
So we come into the building here and then you guys tell us where to go?
You
No,
call us.
Just call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
And
call.
say-
But that's what I'm saying,
It's lab- It's
should it be
labeled
in
back
the-
there.
Once you do it once, you'll know
You'll
where
know.
it goes. It always goes in the same place.
So
but
but would
no,
that need to be in
It
the
doesn't go
ordinance
in the
though?
giant tornado pile.
You don't wanna put it in the ordinance, because what if the spot changes?
Yeah,
No, I mean,
You're gonna
that
change.
they need to call ahead or something like that, I guess is what I'm,
Oh,
You don't
Yeah, I'm stuck with
absolutely
that.
have to call ahead.
oh, okay,
If you've done it before and you know where it goes, you just take it.
okay.
But
It's
if you
pretty
don't know where it
self-explanatory.
goes, some,
Well, I just feel like
how you
ordinances
need to
though.
find out.
That's what I'm just saying, it's something I feel like needs to be in the ordinance that if you don't want to bag it, like what you're saying, you take it somewhere because you know that. Somehow we need the residents to know that too. Because that's what I'm, if we're gonna go back to rewording it or something, I feel like, let's put something in there that, I mean,
Do we
you're right,
know-
it's gonna change.
Do we know the months he doesn't pick it up?
Yes, it's
Right.
a-
Yes, it's on the,
Yeah,
So
it's
let's
a calendar,
say-
yeah.
So
it's
July,
really
August,
just say-
September.
That's why we,
Between these months, yard waste must be bagged.
Mhm.
that's why we tried to make this somewhat general and refer people to the website with the detailed description of, the months with the calendar, when it will be loose leaf picked up by the leaf back and when they
And
would
that's
be
what
picked
this-
up.
Well, I mean, they do send that calendar out in the mail, because I got it.
Yeah,
They
we
do.
send it.
Yeah, everybody gets a copy of the calendar, and the calendar is also on the website as well.
the last line in this paragraph is detailed schedule for brush, yard waste collection, and yard waste rules and regulations are published annually and available on the City of Perry website.
So does the website say where to take it if you don't want to bag it?
I don't think it does right now, but that's definitely something that could be added
We
to
could
the
add
rules
that.
and policies
Yes.
instead of the ordinance.
Yes.
I will suggest that I move that we table this and bring it back at the next meeting with some clarification relative to what does and doesn't require specific bagging, and related also to the information that's on the website.
I agree. Let's,
Second.
we'll move it to after the ordinance committee has looked it over. The next item is another, I'm sorry.
You have to, it was motion by Larry, seconded by Misty, no.
Oh, you made a motion to
Yeah.
that effect?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
To table it.
We have a motion by Larry, seconded by Misty. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Sorry, I didn't hear the motion part. We have another first reading of a zoning ordinance, amendment to chapter 17.
And this one, once again, is doing a little bit of cleanup. Basically, Chapter 17 talks about all of the enforcement activity that we've put in place over the last couple of years with the introduction of an ordinance enforcement officer specifically. And what we have done with this is to basically catch up Section 17 to reflect the addition of the ordinance enforcement officer. And also, at one point in the old ordinance, it said that if additional resources required to assist the zoning administrator or the ordinance enforcement officer, that would be at the direction of city council. And we felt that that wasn't necessarily appropriate in terms of the fact is that those folks identify additional resources. They need to call on Kyle and get police assistance. That happens, naturally without bringing it before council for guidance. Comments, questions?
So the only thing you're changing is basically that they can enforce the ordinances without having to come in front of council to
Yeah,
get
come in
to.
front of council for additional resources above and beyond the zoning administrator or the ordinance enforcement officer. It did say that the prior text doesn't have, it says zoning administrator, the ordinance enforcement officer is not in the ordinance as it's written today. It said if the zoning administrator needs help, basically, it would be provided at the direction of council. I move that zoning ordinance amendment, chapter 17, section 17.01, administration enforcement, section 17.02, zoning administrator / OEO duties and zoning compliance permits, section 1707, zoning compliance permit, which reads as follows, be placed on the next agenda for adoption. The City of Perry ordains, the City of Perry zoning ordinance, chapter 17, administration enforcement miscellaneous matters, section 1701, administration enforcement, section 1702, zoning administration, OEO duties and zoning compliance permits, and section 1707, zoning compliance permit are amended as follows. Section 1701, administration and enforcement. Administrative officials, known as the zoning administrator and ordinance enforcement officer, or OEO, shall be designated by the city council to administer and enforce this ordinance. The administrator and OEO may be provided with the assistance of other city personnel as required. If the zoning administrator or OEO shall find that any provision of this ordinance is being violated, he or she shall notify the person responsible for the violation, indicating the nature of the violation and ordering the action necessary to correct it. He or she shall order discontinuance of any illegal use of land, buildings, or structures, removal of illegal buildings or structures, or any illegal additions, alterations, or structural changes, discontinuance of any illegal work being done, or shall take any other action authorized by this ordinance to ensure compliance with or to prevent violation of its provisions. Section 17.02, zoning administrator / OEO duties and zoning compliance permits. Point L, the zoning administrator, OEO, and building inspector shall have the authority to make inspections of buildings or premises necessary to carry out his or her duties in the enforcement of the ordinance. M, the zoning administrator or OEO may not make changes to this ordinance or vary the terms of this ordinance in carrying out his duties. Q, the zoning administrator or OEO shall enforce this ordinance and may issue stop work orders and municipal civil infraction citations or tickets for the violation of this ordinance. Section 17.07, zoning compliance permit. F, it shall be unlawful to commence excavation for or construction of any building or any structure, including any accessory building, or to commence the moving, alteration, or repair of any structure, including accessory buildings, until a zoning administrator has given documented approval of his or her opinions that plan specifications and intended use of such structure does in all aspects conform to the provisions of this ordinance. This ordinance shall take effect 30 days from date of publication.
I have one amendment to that, back to M. It just says his, all the rest of them say his and hers.
Okay. Yep.
Second, so.
Larry, did you want that to say aspects or respects? My copy says respects.
Yeah, mine did too.
In F, next to the last
Yep.
line, did you want it to say aspects? Makes more sense.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
aspect.
We have Larry's motion on the table. Did you just second that, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Mike. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. That brings us to the conclusion of our agenda items. Is there any other business that may come before council at this time? Any discussion, council, or observations any of you want to make? Anyone for public comment? Megan or Dennis? Agenda items for our next meeting, we have identified a couple. Shirley, you have those down, I think. I'll also ask you to add an appointment to the planning commission. We do have Mike Reeder, who's lives in Perry Lakes, almost right at the dead end of Rolfe Street on the water. He has agreed to fill the vacant seat on the planning commission, so he'll attend our next meeting for a moment for appointment and council approval. He's a builder, construction person, I forget his exact title.
He does kitchen remodel, bathroom remodels.
He's done it for years and years, he does a nice job. But he's gonna kind of slow down, is what he
Trying
told me.
to.
So he's willing to serve in that seat, and I think Larry, we're talking with him about that. Because when I called him, I said, "Hi, Mike, this is Sue Hammond," and he said, "Larry talked to you?" I said, "Yes, he did." So that's nice. Any other agenda items for our next meeting, council, anything you want to? Then now, at this very late hour of 9:15, our meeting is adjourned.